Welcome to another episode of Growing in Real Estate with your host, Jacob Davenport, where it's all about growing in real estate and connecting with high-level individuals that can really document their journey and share with you their experiences, their ups, their downs, their turnarounds. And with that type of value, hopefully that can bring you the type of value to encourage you to continue to grow in real estate and do the things that really give you the fulfillment in life. Today I have a real good buddy of mine and his lovely wife, whom I've known for some time now. And in my journey in real estate, what you realize, and I say it frequently, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, you go together. Well, working alongside these individuals have been very instrumental in my journey from even a personal standpoint of understanding what it means to have trust and the right relationships as you grow in real estate and understand you can't do this alone. So without further ado, I want to introduce the lovely Afton. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And her husband, Bobby.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
I'm hanging.
You're hanging.
How are you both feeling?
Doing great.
I also want to thank you for, this has been a long-awaited podcast. I've been chasing Bobby for some time. And I was dropping hints like, bring Afton. He's like, I'll try it, all right?
Yeah.
But, and so I just want to thank you all because for me, I've had the opportunity to connect with definitely Bobby and get trickled down the information that you guys kind of grow together as I apply it to my business. I don't think we've ever been able to formally meet, and so this is definitely a treat for me.
Me
more
too.
Than absolutely more than anything, I think that I've been able to connect with Bobby a ton, right, and learn from him and do deals with him. But for me, as I acknowledge my peers in the bubble that I'm working with, the value that I have for you guys, it means a lot to me to be able to bring that to my Deal Mastery 201 community, my 101 community, because I extract a lot of value, but I'm like, hey, you guys need to meet Bobby too, because there's just so many things that I've been able to learn, and having access to different people can really change the trajectory of your career. I mean, money's one thing, knowledge is another thing, but it's a business of people. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Right on.
Relationships are key for sure. I mean, just how we met and just how we continue to blossom in the industry. More people you know for sure.
Definitely. How's business for you right now?
Thriving. Yeah, no, it's crazy. We this month we just locked up our 13th deal, so it's best month we've had. We're growing. Afton just came on our team to an extent. Maybe kind of full time. We just brought in another admin, so we're doing great. Yeah, we're got 8 people on our team right now, which is fixing and flipping, wholesaling, and then we have a decent rental portfolio. So yeah, we're definitely blessed, and just kind of thank some of the communities that I'm in and relationships that I've had, as you referenced, to kind of have a path and a blueprint and go in this direction. And it's been amazing to see the growth with having some structure and things written out to where you want to go.
Agreed. What about you, Afton? That's like the business component, but there's business and personal, right?
Yeah.
How's life?
Life is amazing. It's beautiful. We've got 2 beautiful little boys, a 3, almost 4-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And they keep us busy. We are running. So, ever more present in our life is finding ways to give us time back and to slow things down so that we can be as present as possible at home. So, but no, our life is amazing. We're truly, truly blessed.
How long have the two of you been married?
Be 5 years and 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So 5-year anniversary coming up. We've been together 7.5 years, and we met at Keller Williams. So we met in the industry, had a love language of real estate and business, and went from there. She wasn't a big fan of me at first. I kind of wore her down after a while, but the first 2 encounters, she wasn't a fan. I was not the person I am today, and you got to grow and kind of mature, and I wasn't that person at 28 or 27 or something like that.
Yeah.
And over time, I think she saw like a different side of me, and then got together and I told her, I was like, one day you're going to love me. I was like something, because she was down the hall, and it was, easy to pop in and say what's up. And 7 years later, and a couple kids and a marriage, and
it's been a whirlwind,
and
it's been, we've been on the fast track with life too. Yeah, but I do remember thinking that this guy is crazy. It's never going to happen.
It's like,
It's never going to happen. But if you want to take me to lunch immediately, I'm hungry right now. And
That's
he
good.
would
If
take
you wanna-
me
If
to
you want to buy
lunch
sushi
right
for me,
now.
take me out, go for it.
That's
But this is
good.
going nowhere.
I was like,
all right, I'll take my shot.
I'm 5 minutes away from Makuni. Take me there. He's like, okay. And I was just having fun with it. Didn't think.
there's like high school sweethearts, and then there's real estate sweethearts.
Yeah.
I like that. I
Yeah.
never met real estate sweethearts.
Yeah.
Our office had like 3 marriages within 18 months. So the romance was real
Yeah.
at
Love
Keller
was in
Williams
the
and
air.
Atomas if someone's seeking for
Yeah.
little matchmakers over there.
Like today, I what's so important is there's so many things we can talk about because you guys have a very decorated career in real estate, and the wins and even the shortcomings in which had to be turned into wins
Yeah.
through learning and market shifts, right? So like building community and deals are one of the things that I've learned that you guys are very you do well. You run a monthly meetup, right? And you both run a monthly meetup in which you're building community, educating people, leveraging your relationship with others to put them in front of people to bring them value, right? And then finding deals. You guys are freaking deal machines. I know collectively as real estate agents, you guys have done over 100 deals one year before.
Consecutive years in a row, probably 4 years in a row, and then market shift, family life becoming more prominent, important, slowing the real estate business side down. Where we don't do as much, but we still do quite a bit of business.
Yeah, buying your time back, but also doing other activities that very likely bring you larger returns. And it's not all about the money. That's what I learned about the two of you.
No, I mean, money's good for the good it can do, I think, and the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life.
Yes.
Right. And so, just remembering that, lead with that. Like, why are we in business, and why are we building this big life? Like, what do we really want out of our life? And it's not just a work, and it's not just a grind, and it's not just about the deal. It's about the people, number one, and then it's about what this business can do for us and the legacy we're leaving behind. Even more prominently, now that we have kids, it's becoming so much more clear, like, what our purpose is and why we do what we do. So, and I think for so many years, it was just about the grind and the win and being on top, and, and then now it's just more like, it's okay to do less because we have so much more, like, we have two little boys now. That is where my heart is and where I want to spend my time. And so everything that we're doing and how we're structuring everything is just kind of around how we can, be more family centric and be more present.
I love
in
that.
life,
I love
so.
that. Take me back. Take me back a little bit. Prior to the two of you meeting, prior to real estate, let's start with Bobby. What was the come up growing up? You from Sacramento? Mm-hmm. What was that like? Parents in real estate? Was it laid out for you to kind of take this path?
No, both my parents. My mom worked for UC Davis, social worker, and then my dad worked for the city. He was in the planning department. Both of them kind of excelled and got to different tiers in their. I think my mom was like a director of child protective center.
God bless her.
And then my dad made it to director of the planning department. So kind of seeing like how they were able to climb the hierarchy of government and medical industries and move up was always something, of course, I admired, but it had nothing to do with real estate. We did, maybe hair over like middle class, but nothing like lavish growing up. My dad retired, and he even moved to a different city to like accomplish his goals. Like there was a plateau in Sacramento and he couldn't reach his level. He moved 2 hours away. I was 20, I think, and he went to Chico and then knocked out his 2 years there and then got his pension. So both of them, did their 30 years or whatnot, and had a safe retirement. I think, in my mind, I always kind of understood like they had those those pensions and they had a comfortable retirements. I knew that was one way or another something I had to accomplish, which is kind of why at an early part of my career, I was like, I got to buy rental properties because that's going to be a retirement piece. And then, I just somehow always had a knack for grinding and selling things. I was selling candy bars in middle school. I would sell burned CDs in middle school. I'd sell shoes in high school. I'd sell cars. I sold some illegal items in high school and college. Got in some trouble for that. And then did insurance out of college, and then realized real estate had some bigger paychecks. So then I moved to real estate, and then saw some people doing flipping. One thing led to another, and here we are.
Mm-hmm. It's very clear that a lot of times, although we don't know what we want to do, your life will talk to you through your progressive steps. You've been a people person. You've been in sales. You've been very creative. You've been a grinder, a hustler. And it just seems like as the opportunity presented itself, you just took the next progressive step. Not much of what you're doing now within working with people, working with community, having a great reputation, treating people correctly, utilizing those relationships and your skill sets to provide a service or a product. It has been in every chapter of your life. I think that's fair to say. And so looking back, it's not surprising that you're doing what you're doing now. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I think, as you posed that question, I never really thought about it. Yes, like what my parents did. Like they did, move, because I always, they put in their time, they got a pension, right? How does that relate to kind of what I'm doing? But they did like climb ranks to get to like a level, and to an extent like one of the higher levels like in their field. And before we started, I think you asked like, what decisions makes you continue to I guess grow, or do you question some of the decisions that you make, or why do you keep going type thing? And I guess maybe intrinsically like that's there to an extent of just like wanting to keep going to other levels. And I think naturally like we want to continue to see different levels because it gives us a sense of accomplishment. Mm-hmm. But over time it's just like I've seen something or somebody do something and I thought that I could do it, and then I just get in and go for it, mm-hmm. and then pick up the pieces on the way, but it's worked out so far.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that this is my first podcast in which I've had a powerhouse couple, right? Two individuals that have been married, they're in the business of being married to each other, being in the business of real estate, and can kind of document how that partnership works. Because any partner I've had in real estate, I don't go home with them at night. Unless they're having some pizza, then I'll come over, but I'm out of there.
It was a strategic merger.
Yeah. I like that. And Afton, how about you? Take us back a little bit. Where are you from?
I'm from Sacramento as well.
Okay.
I grew up in North Highlands.
Okay.
Very blue-collar family, hardworking. My dad was a framer, a contractor, and my mom was a waitress, and or worked at a grocery store. And she had the benefits. He brought in the money, and we lived in a tiny little house. And just through growing up, all we knew was hard work. Like both my parents just worked so hard. And mm-hmm. if there's one thing that I took from them as a child and that I keep through my whole life is that and they never planned for retirement. Mm-hmm. Their parents never planned for retirement. My grandpa worked until he couldn't work anymore. And, even still my dad is in his 70s and he's still swinging a hammer.
Good.
He's a beast.
That keeps him healthy.
It keeps him healthy, keeps his mind healthy. But he's at that age where he still needs to work and didn't plan for his future. And so, I've taken a lot from them as hard work. If you just put your nose down and you work hard, anything's possible. And then also learning from them what not to do, planning for my future and wanting to, be able to take care of my family when I get older, or when they get older. So I started in real estate in 2010. 2009, I bought my first house, and I was studying for my classes, and I was going to school. And I'd been in school for, 5 years at junior college. I was to transfer to a university or anything, but state budget cuts during the Great Recession weren't allowing any transfer students or any new students through the entire state of California. I was going to commute anywhere. Bay Area, I was willing to do whatever it took, and I could not transfer. So I figured, and my ultimate goal had been to get my real estate license, yet my first goal was to graduate from college, because I'd be the very first person in my entire family to have a degree. And so that was something very big for me. And since I wasn't able, I literally couldn't even take any more classes at a junior college. I just was there for so long. I decided, well, I've always worked full-time, gone to school full-time. I might as well get my real estate license and start there and go back to school next semester whenever I could again. And long story short, here I am today. I never went back to school, and you go to school to get a really good job, right? And
that's what our parents tell us,
right?
That's what we're taught.
That's what society will tell us,
right? That's what society will tell you. And so many people have degrees that they don't even apply. And I think schooling is great to help you think critically and to help you with social skills and certain things like that, but not really to. I think your experience is where you become really good at whatever it is that you choose to do. And so, I got my license in 2010, and I worked full time, and I did open houses on the weekends, and I worked after work, and I worked full-time and had my license for 6 months, and I finally burned my boats in a sense where I knew that if I really wanted real estate to be it for me, which I did, and I wanted that so bad. I didn't have any savings. I mean, I literally brought home enough money to pay my mortgage, and that was it. And my partner at the time, so we didn't have anything. We were young. I was 23 when I got my license, and I finally burned my boats, and it was September 17th, 2010. It was my very first day in real estate, full time. When after I quit my job, and I did 30 open houses in 30 days. And I mean, from there, it kickstarted my business. I led my business with open houses. That was my one thing that I did, several a week. And
several open houses a week?
Yeah.
So that's weekends and during the week.
I mean, ignorance is bliss. When you don't know what you don't know, I listened to nobody, and I figured if I could, and even my previous boss was kind of like a good luck, good riddance. He literally said, I sure hope you can make some money in this market. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And so many people told me I was crazy. What are you doing getting in this market? Everybody's getting out of this market. And I just was so fascinated with it. I had, like I said, just bought my house the year before, and I love the process so much. And I figured, well, if I can work in this market, I can work in any market. Yeah. And I just worked so hard. I was young, and for me, like I said, I burned my boats. I had no choice but to make this work for me. Yeah. And I had worked my very first transaction I got from a friend of mine. It was her mom. She lived in Mexico, but she was buying a house here for her kids. And I learned it was a short sale. It was a relocation sale. And back then, short sales took 6 months to do. And anyways, short sale, relocation sale, they're moving money from Mexico. And we were a week from closing. And she turns around and says, I don't want to do this. It's too stressful. I had worked on it for 6 months.
No.
She canceled. She lost her deposit. It was my first transaction ever. And
welcome.
And most people would have just probably ran away and be like, forget this. I don't want anything to do with it. And I just learned so much through that.
Yeah.
For it being my first transaction. And from there, and I was working full time the entire time. But from September 17th, they tell you in this industry, everything you do today reflects 60, 90 days from now. And at September 17th being my first full-time day in real estate, I closed my first 3 transactions by the end of the year, which was a big deal. And then it just kept going from there. And I showed up, treated it like a business, and here I am. prior to Bobby and I meeting. I think we met in 2017. I think 2019 was we were competitors too. We literally like would compete on appointments. We didn't even know it.
I think I got 2 of them.
He totally did. And it make me
Head to head, I got both.
Totally won. So I think like 2017, he might have beat me in production or units. 2018, we were pretty neck and neck. And then 2019, I think I blew him out of the water. And so
Say that again. Blew him out of the water.
Blew him out of the water.
There we go.
I blew him out of the water.
If I do think back, though, she was listing some of the flips. Not that it matters.
A couple.
Not that it matters.
Anyways.
Okay, I like that.
Not that we're
But
keeping track.
she definitely got me. She crushed me there.
And then we we got married in 2019. We partnered in 2020.
Hold on,
Yeah.
because I want to get into that.
Yeah.
Because it's getting good. And I think that, one of the other things that I'll highlight, well, 2 things. Your parents did the best that they could.
Yeah.
And we have kids. You guys have kids.
Mm-hmm.
I have a daughter. And I remember my mom she was telling me, well, one day when you have kids, you'll understand, but I'm trying the best that I can. And your parents did the best they could with what they could, and they've done a great job, or with what they had, right? And so for you guys to take the entrepreneurial route is very, very different than what was showed to you. For you to be either ignorant enough or have the belief in yourself enough to say, hey, I'm going to go this route, burn the boat. I'm going to go this route because you could have did city plans. You could have worked at the hospital. You could have done any next progressive step of a branch of either what society teaches us or what you saw with your parents. And you guys took the leap of faith and bet on yourself, even when your manager was probably telling you best of luck to you, right?
Yeah. And the funny thing is that I was so completely shy. Like, I'm just completely different than I was at 23 years old. Like, just having a conversation with a stranger was so scary to me.
Yeah.
And the first 2 open houses I did, I made my brother come with me because I was
shy. Like, I don't even know what to tell him.
Shy. I'm like, and I had to tell myself, like, if I could say nothing and let these people walk out of this open house, or I could say something and say the wrong thing and I'll never see them again. One way or another, I could say nothing, I'll never see them again. I could say something, and if it's wrong, I'll never see them again. Or I could say something right, and they could become a client of mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember the very first lead that I got from an open house, and he walked out, and my brother was, sitting there, and I like jumped like, whoa, I got one. It was so cool. And I probably celebrated way more than I ever needed to on it, but it was so neat. But, just the shyness of it, like, I forced myself to get out of my comfort zone because I truly never saw myself as a salesperson. And real estate to me, I was never a sales position. It was like, because I had just bought my first house, and I was like, what realtors do matter? I had 3 realtors before I found an amazing realtor that actually helped me and actually listened to me. Yeah. So I took that experience with me to every client that I helped was listen. It doesn't matter what their price range is. It doesn't matter what their needs are. Like, everyone matters. And I'm going to help every single person to the best of my ability. And I think, to my fault is that, I don't know when to quit. So that's probably been one of my greatest attributes, and yet some later in life learning that that's something that does hold me back too, but not knowing when to give up. And then you said the entrepreneurial spirit, like, my dad was, he was a framer, so he was self-employed forever. And the thing that I loved about real estate is that I could make it as big as I wanted, or it could be as small as I wanted, do it on the side, whatever. But the choice was up to me. Right. And the growth was unlimited. Right. And I had been in a job for 5 years that was just, I would fall asleep like at my desk. Like, it would just completely dead end. There was no growth there. It was just a great job for school. Yeah. I had flexibility for school and whatnot, but wanting something that I had the control over my destiny and my future and the amount of money that I chose to make was what I wanted. And treating it like a job where you show up every day, and put in the hard work, and your reward is in direct correlation to the work you put in. It was addicting, and
She was definitely fearless. Like she bought a house, the house that we live in today. We did like an addition on, but like when we were getting together, we're looking at open houses in Curtis Park area, Land Park in Sacramento.
Barely.
And it was like a $500,000 house. And I remember thinking about the mortgage, like $3,000 back then. I'm like, you're nuts.
A single person,
Like,
$3,000 a month.
What are you doing? And it was a fixer.
It was.
A fixer. I'm like, what is she doing?
He showed his
We were looking at
clients the
open
house.
houses. I actually looked at the same house, but just absolutely fearless. Like, you know, when we were getting together and dating and started the relationship, I'd go hang out at the bar and she's still at the office across the street. I'm like,
Oh, I do open houses. I'm like, I gotta go.
I'm
I
just hanging out and chilling. Like time, like I did have more mindful understanding of like where I wanted my time spent.
Right.
And she worked late and did the weekends and all of that, and just fearlessly just went out there and crushed it, and has been an amazing entrepreneur and realtor.
You make me think because okay, so you guys both started off as real estate agents, but right now you're doing some massive stuff in wholesaling and flips and acquisitions. You guys have a team.
Yep.
What either one of you tell me that time, that friction zone that turned it from real estate agency, right? Because that's where it started, until now. Again, how many properties did you lock up this year or this month? 14?
13.
13, yeah.
And on a high end, how many from the wholesale component? How many have you wholesale and or flipped in a year?
Before this year, so this year we'll probably end up around like 75 or something like that.
75 deals you locked up.
Kind of crazy. Locked up, maybe about 90 or so, and then we'll have some rollover and trickle. To give you perspective, last year I think I did 29 or 30. So
Wholesales or flips?
last year probably about 20 flips and 10 wholesales, and then this year probably 50-50. So about 30-ish flips and then 30-ish wholesales.
That's scale.
Yeah.
That's scale. What was the moment that turned it to more of an investment? Because again, these steps are progressive.
Yeah. So I can definitely talk to that. So Bobby, you know, his first brokerage he ever joined was his broker did a lot of flips, and his broker taught him how to search for deals for him. And so Bobby's like, okay, well, I'm searching for these deals for other people. I'm going to start doing my own. So Bobby, you know, started very early in his real estate career flipping, like one here, one there, like maybe a couple a year, partnering with some other investors, doing flips together, and then eventually he started doing it. And he'd always kind of did it on the side, and he did his real estate business, which to me I always found to be amazing, because for me I can only do one thing. Like, I'm not good at
different hats.
he wears multiple hats, and he wears them well. It's always been remarkable. And then when we partnered in 2020, we were both leaders in our own businesses. And so merging our businesses together, you know, in a business there can only be like one leader. And we were both doing it our own way, and there was so much friction there for a year. I mean, we combined our teams, you know, trying to figure out how everybody was going to fit within one team instead of two. And, you know, a lot of people didn't work out, and, you know, and ended up working out the way it was supposed to anyway. And then I think 2021, or maybe, was it 2021? Maybe 2022.
When it started scaling?
When I finally said, hey, let me run the real estate business, and you take off and do the flips.
It was 22 because we had our second kid and she came back. There was like talks of it, and we tried to make it work, but you know, it was all around time she was pregnant. She would go out. We had a new baby. And then when our second son, Casey, was born, she came back from maternity leave. It's probably been 2 years since like it's been 100% focus, and I'm not going on appointments anymore.
So
because
you dropped the real estate hat.
Yeah.
You kept the real estate hat.
Yeah.
Didn't stop going on appointments, didn't mess with buyers. Everything was referred out. And before that, it was messy, but it's like when a lot of people ask me like, how do you get going? How do you do this? And you're doing exactly like what I was doing, right? Where you're balancing both, and it's challenging, right? Because when it's time constraints, too, it's focus.
Yes.
Right? It's like, where are you spending the most focus? But the other thing is, if you're flipping houses like you are, like it's there's cash flow issues, right? So you need that active income on the agent side to really help with paying for hard money expenses, right? You're maxing out credit cards, you're maxing out Home Depot, you're borrowing money, and then you got like all these hard money payments. So being able to do it like both ways, and then us getting together and have that supplement like really helped take it off. But at the beginning, it was, 1, it was 3, it was 10, it was 18. And then I was floating around like 18 or 15 to 18 for a while.
Flips.
Yeah, all flips.
Doing it all himself.
Project managed. It was mainly referrals. We dabbled in some like marketing campaigns
no team. He had no team
that didn't work out. Yeah, and then I'm just looking at it. I'm like, whoa, I'm making, even before we got together, it was like I'm making more money over almost the same amount of money or more money here, and I'm spending 20% of my time on the flips and 80% of the time on this real estate business. It was like, but it's scary because it's like that active income that comes in versus like when you're flipping, it's a 4-month paycheck, right? Like, what are you doing investing today, or sometimes a 6-month paycheck?
Yes.
And if I can touch on that, like I think how Bobby was able to scale, because you look at it, flipping is a very cash heavy business.
Right.
The way he was able to scale it is every penny just about that he made on a flip went back into his bank account for the next flip, and every penny he made from real estate went into his bank account for the next flip. Like he has always, one of the great things about both of us, we've run our teams and like our business is very lean, lead with revenue. And so that's the way that he was able to do more than one project at a time and learn that leverage piece very early. But literally every penny would go into the next project and from both sides of it.
Right. And I think in 2017, like I was probably making $200,000-$300,000 in 2017. And I thought $3,000 mortgage payment was insane. Still. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and I made good money, but I was like, every dollar that I earned, and we were just started dating. And I'm like, this lady's nuts, but she was fearless, right? And I'm paying.
It's not even when
my buddy Mike and I are renting a condo that we loved in Natomas from another friend. That was like $1,400. I was paying $700 a month, and I had like I've never like gone like that extra mile with the car, with the house. This is the first house we bought like together a year ago that I bought for myself. I've bought over 150 houses, and the first one that I bought for like to actually live in was a year ago that we're working on today. So it's been like, that was something I always got from my dad, like save, put away. And for me, I just reinvested it.
Right.
I reinvested the money, and various points of like leverage. It just, thankfully it flowed at the right time, right? It's a more challenging market right now for sure. Right. But we hit some lulls in like 18 where interest rates went up a little bit, things slowed down. And without that active income, like I would have been in a pinch. Right. Like without some of those commissions coming in, I would have been like, oh crap, like how am I going to make this mortgage payment to make sure that the hard money payment's fulfilled and that we could flip this house. It was a balancing act for sure.
But I want to touch really quick. There's some really good stuff that's coming to mind here. But, for him, like he would just reinvest the money. And then for me, like he told me my $3,000 mortgage was nuts, which is true because the house that I lived in, my payment was $891 a month. So going from an $800 a month payment to a $3,000 a month payment of a fixer at that. But he's just more like invest. Like he's got that tunnel vision on investing. I'm very emotional about my decisions. Like I'm the planner. I'm the safe one. He's the calculated risk taker. But when I want something, I freaking go all in. Like that house that I bought, I think I literally put every penny that I had for my down payment, my closing costs, and then I still had to renovate it. I had no money. I'm like,
and she wanted me to move in, and there was no shower or AC. I'm like,
hold on.
Like we got a couple priorities before I could live there.
Bathroom, anyway.
Sitting in a bathtub with like one of the old school showers, like didn't even have like the stand and just like showering myself. Like this is ridiculous. We make pretty good money.
I mean,
that's so much about really the real life application of that's like finding, because it was a deal. Finding deals.
No, it wasn't a deal.
He's like,
it was not a deal.
This man literally, he showed his clients because his, I like how I just,
it was a passion
whatever
project.
It is, I don't know why I got to have these ugly, the worst houses ever. And I'm like,
plaster wall. You did the houses that you tear apart.
The old ones.
The cement walls, knob and tube wiring, old plumbing, no AC, but it was cute.
I'm going to knock this wall out. I'm going to knock this wall out. I'm going to knock this wall out. And my dad, being the contractor, I just have this vision. I'm like, Dad, come in here. We're going to do all this together. And I remember my brother and my dad and my mom came during inspections on that house, and they just have their hands in their pockets. I'm like, so what do you think? I'm so excited about this house. And they're all looking at each other, and my mom's looking around. Everybody's got their mouth closed and just not really sure what to say. My mom's like, it's going to be great. She's like, has blind faith. Just like, if she believes it, I believe it. And
her dad, and then she got this guy, Sammy, that we work with from another flipper. And Sammy worked on her house. And that was 7 or 8 years ago. And to this day, he still works with me.
And that was
she met him through a relationship with another flipper. 8 years later, he lives in my apartments. He's helped me do probably 100 houses almost. So crazy. Like the
and he was like that was the I think, start of a consistent contractor.
Let me dive into that.
Yeah.
Let me dive into that, because the as I share, we have the community on, and I think that two of the reoccurring questions, because part of the community I lead, the challenge is we're trying to get into our first deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's what we just discussed and the journey you guys have been on to be able to buy a home, maybe not at a discount, but a home that you like, a passion project. That well, that's what Bobby calls it.
It is.
That only comes after
house.
a lot of delayed gratification.
Right.
And so much. It's good to be able to harvest and be able to arrive at this chapter, but early on, like you said, your first open house, it wasn't easy. And so when we get into our first flips, as we try to grow and get to a chapter like this in real estate, there's so much delayed gratification. There's so many things that are setbacks. There's so many setbacks that pop up. Community and finding a good deal is something I harp on continuously, because if you find the right deal, you can make money. And you find the right deal by doing a lot of things. You can pay for leads, you can pay for marketing, or you can network. So how important is building community and being involved in community important to you guys, and how has that helped you grow?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think surrounding yourself with the people that are doing what you want to do is the biggest piece. I think, finding Sammy, I found him from a flipper that I used to hold all of his open houses. And we built a relationship over the years, and I'm like, hey, do you have a guy for this? Anyways, and it trickled from there. And then who did Sammy know? And, and then all these other contractors. So you find that. But and then coming up with capital, it's just the more conversations you have, which is the meetup mixer, why that is such a valuable place for people to go. That is the community that you go when you don't know anybody, you go and you build your community, and I think the mindset that a lot of people have is, I don't have a community. I don't know where to start. I don't have the money. It's that limiting mindset. It's like, most people don't. And I think Bobby and I started with, we didn't, have we didn't have anything, but we created it.
Yeah.
And that was surrounding ourselves with the people that were doing what we wanted to do, and hard work, and just a lot of it was baby steps in the beginning. It's baby steps. And what we have is we have our brain, we have our hands, we have our work ethic. I didn't have like I said, I didn't have a penny to my name when I burned my boats and I started in real estate. And then, I didn't have any money when I bought my first house. Like, there was like a government grant program that was giving you money back when you bought your house. So I borrowed money from my parents that I paid back. And then, so.
Let me ask you, but they're tying that back to community.
Yeah.
And I look at Capital Wealth Builders. You meet once a month. Is it the third Wednesday of every month?
Yeah, we move it around depending on travel schedule, but yeah. It's tonight and it's the fourth Wednesday. But
The fourth. Okay. The fourth.
Most of the time it's the third Wednesday of the month. Yeah.
Got you. I just always look for the blast online.
Yeah.
When I look at community and I look at the Capital Wealth Builders, right?
Yep.
If I was getting in real estate right now and I am learning how to analyze a deal, I'm connecting with off-market players, I'm connecting with real estate agents, I maybe even doing direct to seller, and I can't find that deal. The biggest things that hold us back is finding a deal and then getting the right debt on a deal, whether it be hard money, whether it be private money, whatever you should call it. Suppose somebody was to go to Capital Wealth Builders. What are some of the things that they can expect? Or how should they operate themselves and go into an event like that, never being able to track down a deal? But they want to get a deal and they want to get the finances.
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect going there? I think providing value, right? We're bringing speakers on. You're speaking tonight. We're connecting. people's stories like this, how they started finding deals, try to be intentional about the direction of those conversations and just giving newer folks and experienced folks guidance on how to find that deal. The networking in there, right? So you and myself, both of us, we've grown our businesses through relationships, right? And I didn't really go to meetups until like after COVID, I think 3 years ago, something like that. And I couldn't believe that I didn't go to more of these. Like occasionally I'd go and I'd look for investors maybe to find deals for something like that, because I would kind of find them on MLS or off market or whatever. And most of my deals to begin with were through going to realtor mixers. So I was a part of like my like networking and connecting phase started I just like vibing and connecting, having some drinks, right? So I'd go to mixers. I went to the Sacramento Real Estate Association Young Professional Network. I joined the board. I went to the mixers. I went every month. I got involved, and I became the president of it. And I, 2 years in a row, I like ran it, right? I'd go to all the Placer ones. I'd go to the Sacramento ones. I'd go to El Dorado
You're
ones.
traveling.
Yeah.
You're traveling. You're
It was fun though. It was like, oh, my friends are all scooting around. Let's go meet people. And that was specifically when I was I started with insurance. Then I went to real estate. So I was switching the identity. And then like, I realized like, oh man, I'm making $30,000-ish, $40,000 on a flip. Like, why don't I just switch the branding? And I'm talking to everybody and people know me. So like to this day, like half of my business, we're going to do 70 something deals this year. About half of them are referrals. And a lot of it's from like the work that I did 10 years ago or something like that.
Seeds,
going to those events,
built relationships,
planting the seeds, and then following up and getting in front of them. And then I also I started going after attorneys. Like I would call attorneys. I'd stop by their office. I would go to the Attorneys Association and I'd go to their luncheons and I'd be super uncomfortable in these big suits that didn't fit me because I was trying to look professional out there. And I would have some very awkward conversations. I wouldn't even know how to hold a conversation. I don't even know half the stuff they're talking about. But just like getting in front of them, they saw a hustle, and I started getting I still to this day get leads from attorneys. It was hard money lenders, it was real estate agents, and it was attorneys. Those three sources. And now like you get leads from title reps, mortgage loan officers, right? Like I get a couple deals a year from them. Like, and you do an amazing job of social media branding. And I've attempted to do an okay job and have a presence there. And that's like a full-time thing as well with Focus. But whatever it is, like going and being present and asking for deals. And then as it is grown to the meetups that we run now, you and I have done some deals together. We did a walkthrough on Tuesday, I think it was, or Monday, and we had about 5 buyers that came and went to. A lot of it's like us finding. Now we're wholesaling a lot. Us finding buyers and going to the properties and helping them find a deal, and then newer wholesalers are sometimes they don't know how to raise the money for the deal, right? Sometimes they don't know how to do the construction and it's overwhelming or stressing, right? Or sometimes it's finding that buyer and wholesaling it. So being in there and working with folks and creating those relationships, you're able to do each of those pillars of the business and help them get to the finish line.
Yeah, by going to meetups, a lot of times we have an idea of where we're bottlenecked at in real estate investing and finding that first deal. Yeah. Right. We know that, hey, I either don't know how to analyze a deal, I don't know what a good deal is, or I don't know how to get an offer accepted on a deal, or even the capital for a deal.
Yep.
And so by going to networking events like the Capital Wealth Builders, or like DMing either of you on social media and saying, hey, do you have a deal, or look, I need help with this, it's really just a question. The right question and asking the question a lot of times can tell you just how far you're going to take it.
The conversations are invaluable, right? Like one, how do you get to that next level? Two, like I met a guy at the West Sac meetup that was like, I can lend on projects for like 100% and get you all the money and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cool. Did like 2-3 deals with them. Then Jake needed a deal, right? It was a heavy lifting one. I was like, bro, you want it? He's like, why don't you partner on it? I'm like, well, I got a guy that'll hook you up. Right? So like I connected with dude like, I don't know, a year-ish ago, right? I've used him. Then I wanted to sell you a deal. I connect you with them. Boom. I put
let me tell that story
the money in the deal and everything in place. And it was a win-win for everybody.
Let me tell that
right? It's a huge, like, testimonial there.
Bobby called me about this deal. He was like, we've been networking, power of networking. He's like, hey, man, I have a deal in the area that I see you do a lot of investing in. You know, go check it out. I go check the property out. It needed some heavy lifting, and a fire had taken place. And but I was already in 3 other deals. So I was like, man, do I want to take this on right now? I don't know. I'm checking my capital out. And then my hard money lender, they might not like this property because of the damage. So Bobby said, look, if you like the deal, you know, here, I'm going to 3-way you in a text message with a lender that might do the deal. He texts me the information. I follow up with the guy. I said, man, this is not going to work. He said, man, he'll loan you 100% of the finances. I meet the guy maybe 2 days later at the property. He says, all right, we'll do the deal. Send me over your LLC docs. We'll close it up. In like 10 to 12 days, he funded 100% of the deal. I didn't have a penny in the deal.
Yeah.
So to tie all this together with the Meetup Mixer, there are hard money lenders there. This guy, this lender, he was a vacuum salesman for like 20, 30 years, and now he just has a few $1 million that he's loaning of his own money, right? I think that's the guy that you're talking about, right? And so there's those people that want to lend their money out. There are contractors that come to these saying, hey,
Yeah, Wayne's coming tonight.
I can do work for you. So you can find your contractors there. You can find your hard money people there. You can find the deals there. Bobby's always he's got properties ready to dispo tonight. So you know.
I think it's having those conversations and being intentional with what you're going with, and just being like aware of like all these different avenues that you need help with. Even if you go to conferences, right? Like you went to Pineda's conference. That was the first time, like, I think we connected to an extent, like a year ago. You bought me lunch at Chipotle and we sat down and just chatted. But you're going to those and you're like, you're meeting so many people, and sometimes you don't know what direction to have the conversation go. And you're just, I think, identifying like things that you need to work on and help with. And hopefully it's not always just like, I just need to find a deal, because there's other like strategic avenues on how you should tailor that conversation to make sure that it's beneficial.
You should be bringing them value as well.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
you always do a great job of that,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Likewise,
100%.
likewise. I think that's one thing.
Absolutely, I think it's just that asking, showing up and talking to people. You can show up, but what is your intention there? Exactly. Exactly what you guys said.
Almost like
And
preparing and planning. Like it's like have like a deep dive with yourself for like 5 minutes before going in the room and being prepared for some of those questions. Like I've now joined this mastermind where I am a small fish. There's guys doing 1,000 fix and flips and wholesales there. There's guys doing 700 in San Diego, like monumental numbers. Like I don't like they got
massive
20-person teams, 70-person teams. I'm like, that's like an intimidating room. And you get there and you just have like little conversations with to go in like a different direction. It's like, it just makes it seem easier, first off. And then also you just get perspective and a game plan, and you see other people going through those struggles and how they've overcome them. And then you come back and then you just implement, you put together a plan and do weekly, monthly.
Like the conference you just went to, you said there's some people doing some very large numbers. When you when you look at what you're doing, which is some amazing things, right? And then you go into a larger room, you aren't the biggest fish. You might feel like the smallest fish. Does that change your mindset, or how does that networking look? Because, okay, with Capital Wealth Builders now, a lot of times people are coming to you looking for deals and or information.
Yep.
And as you grow yourself, you find yourself in a conference where you have the opportunity to look at other people for deals or information. How do you respond to that from a networking standpoint?
It was challenging at first. You got like the imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing here? Like the threshold to get in, like I didn't even think like I deserve, like on the cusp. I made it with like all 3 tiers of our business. And then you get there and then you just want to embody what other people are doing. You want to put in action. Like you're around, all the people that you're around is what you're likely going to raise your bar to. So I'm at these tables and I'm having these conversations with people that are doing millions and millions, $5 million businesses, $7 million businesses, $20, $30 million businesses, right? It's like, okay, like how can I do that?
Right.
Literally the first one I went to, I came back and doubled my marketing budget. And I had an astronomical, I had a $15,000, $20,000 marketing budget. I thought I was, throw an insane amount of money. Yeah. I go to that conference, I come back, and I raise it to $50,000.
It's scale. It's all about, not necessarily about scale, but it's perspective. Because as you take this journey chasing real estate investing and improving and improving your quality of life, you realize that there's always somebody else out there doing something a little bit different, if not better.
Yeah.
And I go right back to building community. You guys have done a great job of it. After I ask you as a real estate agent and also as an investor, how do you think that conversation should sound for somebody looking to get their first deal and going directly to a real estate agent? How should someone establish that type of conversation?
Finding the right real estate agent that will walk you through the steps.
How do you do that? Or what's the right agent?
I guess asking the questions. Like I'm buying my first investment property. And then with the right realtor, they're going to ask you, okay, what's your goal with your investment property? Are you looking to flip something, or are you looking to buy and hold? Right. So depending on what they say, how much money do they have too?
Right.
You know, that matters. Like you have to have a certain amount of, capital to be able to really buy anything
so
too.
if I'm getting into my first deal, I don't have a ton of capital. I really don't even know how to raise the capital quite yet.
Do you own a house?
No, I don't own a house.
Okay.
Don't own a house. But I've been following Bobby Flip Homes on Instagram and Facebook. I've been watching, a variety of other people in this bubble becoming a success in real estate. They look like they're doing this big stuff that I probably can never do, but I have enough ignorance to say I'm going to try it.
Okay.
And I know that sourcing a deal, I know it boils down to deal, debt, and equity. And sourcing the right deal is so important. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find the deal.
And, going with a, traditional realtor, finding a deal may, if you're looking for something to flip, those are going to be more of a needle in a haystack, where you can find properties on the MLS, but it's more like the relationship. Who do you know that might have something off market? Because that's where you get a better spread or a better deal on it.
Right.
I do think you want to, to an extent, start and try to get some capital, right? If you don't got any money, right, I guess you'd start trying to wholesale. That, those are different conversations and strategies.
Yeah.
But if you're flipping, and it tends to be maybe a little easier to throw through that transition and start. Talk to people, throw it on Facebook, throw it on social media. Who's looking to partner on a deal? I'm getting in investing. Would you be open to investing with me and taking down a property? Talk to some family members, talk to some friends, right? With different loan programs, it's not terribly challenging to get some funding for.
Forgive me, because I want to make sure I catch the pieces I think that the community is really asking for. So, just let me ask you this first. To be a successful wholesaler, which you guys are, does it take a lot of capital?
You don't need any money to wholesale a property.
I guess if you're going through agents, not necessarily. If you're going through you're joint venturing with someone, you have a deal and you're like, I can't find, I hit you up on an Isleton property. If somebody was out there, somebody want to buy an Isleton property, or do you have a buyer that's looking for Isleton, right? I don't have a buyer out there. So you're finding these little niches where we can partner together and both make money on something. So something like that, no money, find some buyers, something like that. It's time or money, right? You buy back your time, right? Are you going to pick up the phone? Are you going to do driving for dollars? Are you going to get some lists and make phones? There's no money involved with that, but it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Yeah. So other people, right, they're hiring virtual assistants, and cold calling and texting's become a lot more challenging, but you could get a cold caller for $1,000 a month, right? That's a low barrier of entry. You got to get the data. Maybe that's another couple $100, $500, so maybe $1,500 to $2,000 a month. You can have somebody else bang the phones and try to get people to raise their hands, and then you got to try to convert them. But those are much harder. They take more time. Your cash conversion cycles, which is how you put $1 out, it could take 4 to 6 months to get back, will take longer. And then you go the paid, the more expensive leads, which are hotter leads, which is maybe an easier sales process, but it costs more money, right? And that's mail, pay-per-click, people doing TV, radio, all the above.
And if you, like you said, I don't have any money, I don't have any money saved, you have your time and you have your sweat equity. So it's finding somebody else, maybe a family member to partner on the deal. Do you have a 401k that you can tap into? That's where you can get money. But if you, literally find an ugly house that has a tarp on the roof, knock on the door if somebody's living there, or find a way to get the contact information, mail the house, to see if somebody's interested in selling the property. Like,
You gotta do hundreds of those though.
yes, you can do hundreds of.
You get needle in a haystack.
Those
but you
are,
gotta
it's all
do-
needle in a haystack stuff. But coming to a community where everybody's doing this is probably where you're going to
That
get your
is
very
where
first
let's
deal.
go Afton.
So going to a community
Let's
where
go Afton.
everyone is there, either doing it already or seeking to do it, you can find your partner there. And then
build
you
a
can
relationship.
build your relationship, find your deal, find your hard money lender that's going to walk you through and tell you what programs you need and how to do it.
Like think about you. You come up at times and really good at adding value. Have very well spoken. Like,
Thank you.
but asking folks like, how can I help you? Right. Like I think you do an amazing job of that. Like sometimes just tapping in with how can I help you?
Yeah.
Versus like coming up and asking like, how can you help me? I think in the opposite. Like a lot of people coming up and just like, how do I find my deal? How do I do this? How do I do that? Versus like the other side of it is, can I help you find a buyer for a deal that you have? Or can I help you knock on some doors? Or do you have some lists? Or do you have some, like, those are kind of the entry level ways how you get rolling in it. And it's a snowball effect. Like it's really hard to find, I think, that success obviously overnight.
Yeah.
It's growing.
And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how you got started. I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt.
please.
But that's how you got started. You got started looking for properties for your broker.
Right.
Like, and you'd say, here's what they want for it here, and then learning how to comps. Here's what it could be sold for. You got started that way. And then from there, learned and met other people, and then took a leap of faith and did it on your own the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it was finding offers on MLS. It was writing a lot of offers. It was finding properties on Craigslist and then starting to talk to other agents just to find a deal for my broker at the time, Chris. And then graduated from that, and then I started finding deals for another buddy. And then he took on some crazier projects than somewhat like you're doing, or additions or kind of stuff like that. I was like, oh, it's a little easier to find something in his buy box. And then it was doing a joint venture and doing deals with him, and just blossomed.
Your progressive journey is for me the blueprint.
Yeah,
I think both of them really, because one, this is a partnership, and understanding early on, I do hear all the time that, hey, I want to get in real estate. I'm gonna do wholesaling because it's easier. I'm gonna do wholesaling because it costs less money, and in theory, that's true. But I think that if I was to advise, like if I had a younger sister getting into real estate or a younger brother getting into real estate, the blueprint that I would be providing them is very similar to you guys' journey. Is one of the things you said, bring value. You were working for Chris. You were working for some individuals, and you were getting some hands-on approach, and being able to understand the appetite you're going to need for this process in actuality. Because people say wholesale, but you don't understand. They may not understand all it takes to even scale it, right?
Right. And so if I'm a brand new investor coming to Meetup, what do you need help with? How can I help you? I just want to learn.
yeah.
How can I help you in your
Yes.
day-to-day so that I can learn a piece of what you're doing?
Bringing some value.
You're bringing value to them, and in turn, you're getting value. And that's the philosophy of give before you ever receive.
There we go.
And I probably had like a slower approach because I've been my first flip was, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that. But I was finding properties, maybe 9 years ago for somebody. But I saw the mistakes that they made. They bought a house on like W Street and couldn't sell it. They bought a house like kind of near a light rail and had issues with it. Taking on big projects, right? Doing the additions that take like a year. Oh, you're messing with the facade of the front in an older neighborhood. Like the city's not going to let that fly. You're doing this with the windows. Like I saw those mistakes from
made them.
someone else and I learned, or you went into the big markets and then obviously the times turn. Thankfully, 150 properties or something like that, I lost money on 2 deals, and that was 2022 when the interest rates doubled, which everybody got some scars on that, but like one on like 20 something deals that year and lost on 2. So there is something too. Obviously, this can be a very risky business when you're flipping, like taking a little slow and seeing with other people, especially if you don't have an experience in real estate. Like us being like realtors and starting there, like you understand some of these nuances and weird things about these different properties that a buyer's not going to like. And I'm still dealing with like tri-level homes, like having issues with those, like different kind of weird things.
With community and networking and having continuous conversations, you have to pay you have to pay your dues early on. So going to networking events and networking, connect with the right people, and you're hearing these stories and you're hearing these things. It's like you going to a university for real estate to prepare you. It's not so much about just flipping your first house or making the profitability. So much of the value is in the education and information. You can get it for cheap when you're networking and build a community with the right people. And there's a quote that says, if you, and I hope I don't take it out of context, if you don't have a seat at the table, serve the table.
Yeah.
And that for me has been part of just what I truly believe, that when we come as servers, when we're bringing value to individuals, naturally they're going to want you to have a seat at the table anyways. But because within real estate in its own, with the risk and the learning curve and the challenges and the capital you need, the barriers to entry, because it can be so high, I ask myself sometimes, how dare somebody have the audacity to think that they can just be at the head of the table day one? Why would you even want to skip the process and fall in love with the money or the flip? Why would you not want to serve the table to people that have done great work and commend them by saying, hey, let me bring you service. I appreciate you for going first when interest rates were a shock, when you were doing open houses and you didn't know if you had what it took, and you did a whole deal for 4 months just for the seller or the buyer to bag on you. So for me, I would be coming in very gracefully for people that have done so much work and have so much value to bring me, and I would want to serve that table, not just hop to the front of it and say, hey, Bobby, you sit on the left. You guys bring me some food. Like, there needs to be a level of grace and humility, not because I think I'm somebody's father or teacher. That's just how these steps should go.
Well, and I maybe that's how these steps should go. And if you look at, some of the most successful people over time, whether they're in real estate or, whoever they are, Facebook startups, like they were the humility with it. Like they started from nothing and they learned and they fought and they clawed and they had really hard work over and over and over again. Persistency, being persistent and consistent over time, and that paid off. So everybody, it seems most people anyway from, what I know is that when you work hard and you come from, giving and, it's not handed to you, that's where people thrive the most. And that's where I think the greatest stories come from.
And sustainability is present.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me take a quick shift, and I appreciate that. I'm aligned with the both of you. Tell me a little bit about, it goes back to deals, right? And so just trying to bring value to our guests and the people that are on live. How do you define a good deal?
Well, I mean, clearly I think I buy things and he doesn't pay full price for things. And I'm very emotional, so I will give you my entire, everything I own for something that I want to, right?
If it's a passion project, it might be a good deal.
Yeah, so
today it's different, and I had to take some licks and take on the heavier projects for maybe less profitable returns. But today, with the market shifting and what it is, it's more cookie cutter stuff. So a good deal is something you don't need to, obviously it's time. Right now we're in end of September, going in October. Right now, pretty much I'm wholesaling everything, which means if I buy it, I take title, I'm throwing it on the market immediately. Maybe I'm painting it and getting it financeable. I don't want to take on flips right now because things are moving slow right now with interest rates. People are saying the election. It's not a great time. But at the end of the day, if you can make money on deals, I guess it's just
risk management.
How much risk management, right? So for me, it's get it on the market as soon as possible. But if you get it on the market as soon as possible, what does that look like? You're putting the house on around Thanksgiving. That's not a good time to resell. So a cookie cutter to me is, 80s or newer. It's floors. It's maybe you just got to paint the cabinets, right? It may not seem like a big thing, but your project's just going quicker if you just spray them and throw some countertops on. Or the wood colors coming back, throw some white countertops on those.
White oak.
Yeah. So having something that you can get back on the market in 6 weeks is a good deal yet we're going into a slow time, and you have to expect that it's going to take longer to sell.
It's going to take longer to sell, and what you think the numbers look like today, be even more conservative for them to plan for them to be lower if they're not great, but plan for your sales price to be lower than expected, because that, I think, is being so much more conservative on your numbers today is key.
It's challenging because for a long time, like, it was take down the wall, open the kitchen, make it more appealing to the consumer. Yeah. But then it's like, as you've ran into, like, what does that look like if you get hit by the city? Did you pull plans and permits and engineering, right? You just took down a wall. Like, is that going to interfere with, like, your time, right? Are you going to look at 12 weeks or 16 weeks or something like that? So I think, that is a huge play. And, like, can I just put it back on the market and be an easier project? I put less money into it. Maybe I'm not fetching that highest comp, but it's turning quicker. And then I don't have the hard money payments carrying on as long. So, but that's challenging, right? When you don't have as many options.
Right. Let me ask you this then. Great question. Okay. Again, I'm committed to real estate investing. I've never taken down a deal. How important is it to be able to underwrite or analyze a deal?
Very important. And that was the piece of, like, don't buy in a busy street. Don't buy next to the light rail or something like that. Like, understanding the neighborhoods. Like, I think you grew up in the Oak Park area. Like, that used to be my bread and butter. That listing that I got from Afton, it was in Oak Park because she didn't know how to comp it.
Let's go.
And I knew Oak Park. I loved that area, right? And it's like various parts of Nooks in Sacramento, like, they're very sensitive street by street. You cross over Broadway, you cross over Second, like, it's a completely different neighborhood. So obviously you got to be able to understand that, because if you're comping a quarter, half a mile out in Oak Park, man, you got $700K by the Med Center, or you got $350 on 14th, right? But that's, like, only a couple blocks away.
Yes.
And obviously that's like a small thing. You could tell by the neighborhoods, and they look different. But you got to be able to have the proper deal analyzer, figure out what the carrying costs are, how many months it's going to be, the taxes, the insurance, all that stuff. Understand what contractor prices are. When you're brand new, that's probably I still don't get my estimates right, and I've done hundreds of projects. There's always going to be errors, but you got to have a little room for error with underwriting.
For sure. I would say if you are brand new, have never done it before, partner with somebody.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Afton, you got me back on course. All right.
Partner with somebody who's experienced and learn from them. Learn from people who have done it already.
Yeah, because they can walk you through the underwriting procedure. They can show you things that, if I rattle off everything that's in the top of my mind right now, it's going to be different when I'm in the trenches and walking you through a 2 or 3 month project, because there's way more things that come up that you're able to explain to somebody versus us having a conversation at the meetup. And I'm like, you probably want to look out for this, and that. Go for it.
Okay, let me
right? And there's 30 other steps in there that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one, right? And that one.
Of how you're going to improve it, right? And to what degree, based off the comps. And
there's so many outliers too.
So let me ask you this. So we're thinking about, let's think about the Alton property. I just saw it briefly with some photos, right?
It's available. Hit me up. When's this podcast dropping?
No, we're live, so they know. And we're gonna post some of those too. See if we can get anybody in the community that wants to kind of do some partnering, maybe some creative finances, and we have some people ready. We definitely do. So we would love to see if that is an opportunity for those of you that are live. Let's see. I'll check on that for you. All right. But my question to you is this, and now this is like rapid fire. Alton property. How much do you think the roof will cost to replace it?
The roof, 10,000, maybe 11.
Okay. And what do you think about?
But the contractor prices are much lower.
I got you. I promise. I'm going somewhere with it. I'm going somewhere. So to replace all the flooring and baseboards in that house, how much do you think it'll cost you?
$4 a foot. I think it's 1,100 square feet, so $4,400. And you got baseboards, maybe 5,000.
Okay, and then to redo the kitchen, cabinets, countertops, plumbing.
Probably 10,000.
Okay, and then replace all the windows.
It's 200 to 300 a window. Call it 250 a window. If there's 10 windows, maybe 2,500 to $3,000.
And then each bathroom?
Probably about 7.
Okay, so why do I do that rapid fire? Because that shows you the growth in real estate and the difference in. Shout out to all the real estate agents. Shout out to all the wholesalers, the investors. Everybody's trying to play their part and grow within it. But when you have made a commitment to real estate investing and you've been in the trenches and you put in the time and you've made a commitment to this being the thing you're going to do, I would bet 100% that all your numbers are pretty darn close. And that, so when I speak with my community or individuals that are growing in real estate, finding a deal is more than just looking at some photos and saying maybe I'll spend $40,000 on it. But the more you commit to it, the easier it gets, so you can quickly walk through a property. A lot of time when we talk about wholesaling, me and one of your buddies was walking through a property the other day, and the terms of the property were that Jacob, you get one shot to walk through it. All right, and so when you walk through it, you got to be quick. So I think we might have been in the house all of 6 or 7 minutes. I had a very good scope of what it's going to take. I was 15, 12, 9. Oh, I forgot about that 6, right? Now, these aren't going to be concrete numbers, but if I can walk through a property and Bobby says, Jake, you need to write the offer by 5, otherwise we're going a different direction. I get one shot at this. Most people, when they analyze their first deal, they say, oh, man, I just met a contractor. He's a pretty cool guy. He said he'll give me good prices. And when I go look at a property, he'll go with me. When Bobby calls you at 9 o'clock in the morning and says, look, if you can make it by 12 and you can write an offer by 5, we have a deal. I mean, it's a great deal. That contractor, one, isn't going to be free or available. Even if he's going to be free or available, he's not going to give you the response on the scope of the work. And you don't want to trust in somebody else that's not giving you an itemized list of what it's going to cost to get this fixed. Because once you agree to Bobby or Afton, you close the deal, put it over the hill, your exposure is what your exposure is. So I'm not suggesting or challenging whether your numbers are right. What I'm showing is a very good example of a seasoned individual that has a pretty good pulse on the cost of construction, the current condition of the market, some of the things that objections that buyers would have, like being by a railroad, being by a gas station, being by a main street, and collectively taking all of this data with your experience. You happen to be somebody that's sitting at a table. And for somebody to come to that table and want to sit at that table and not bring value in exchange for you to help them understand real estate, is one of the most, they're shooting themselves in the foot. And so I commend you both for committing yourself to real estate investing. And I understand that to have come this far, you've given up so much. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think we gave up more at a time when we had more time. Yeah. And then now we're buying back time, which is why we have 8, 9 employees. And then it's like, how do you teach them all, right? Yeah. Show them, like, because most of them can't rattle off numbers as quickly as you said, as we went through there. But it takes experience, and ultimately it's going through those steps maybe before like the live bullets are there, right? And that's like the preparation, like getting the pre-approval, getting the couple contractors, getting bids, getting an idea what numbers are, knowing what questions to ask the contractor. And then when it comes time to make offers, like you're feeling more confident.
You're feeling more confident. Yeah.
And ultimately it's like, again, like it goes back to like partnering on deals, right? Like we partner with people all day on stuff. Like sounds like I know you do quite a few partnerships. Like it's a team sport. Like whether you're literally going 50-50 on it, or whether you got your lender, you got your contractors, you got your project manager, you got this person, that person. Like there's so many components of it to make it a successful project or business or whatever it is. You got to embrace that one way or another and come together and move the needle forward.
And I'd also say the right people.
The right people. What's the right people? What does that mean?
How do you find the right people?
Through trial and error, through failure. A lot of it, you start with somebody and learn that this isn't the right person for that. He brings me in on vision, like we're gonna knock all the walls down. He's like, you can't come anymore.
It's tough bringing her to projects because the budget doubles, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds amazing, but we're gonna do this one.
I've got the vision.
Sounds really cool, but
he's like, and then I gotta go, okay, wait a minute, you're right. This is a flip. Let me put my flip hat on and go, but I'm like, but then I gotta go, what's the budget? And, so I'm not the right person to bring in and ask me what
for a budget.
Because I'm just I'm gonna do things to it that he's not that is not going to be in the budget, right?
We're not gonna make any money on this.
No.
That we're doing for each other, I'm not giving him a run for like everything's over budget. So I think trial and error, the right people.
The underwriting on this math is not mathing. Like, we're not gonna make money on this deal.
Well, and she doesn't have an understanding of what things cost. But some things, not just business. I'm kidding. But yeah, you go into the projects, and yeah, like if you want to go that route, and some people there's different investors and flippers. They're watching HGTV, and they want to make it as beautiful as possible, and that's fun, right? To me, it's more fun to make money and have it be successful, and it's hard, and I think to do both unless you're buying super deep in this market,
which are very difficult to find.
Completely different. Is like it's more fun for me to make things look pretty, and it's more fun for him to make money. I'm not money.
I've flipped enough homes that I don't really care how pretty it is.
What do you think is the number one reason that keeps people out of growing in real estate and getting past their first 2 or 3 deals?
Not treating it like a business, not treating it, showing up like it's a job.
So you saying without Bobby, you wouldn't be in? No, I'm kidding. No, passion project. I'm beating up your passion project. I'm like, all right.
But what keeps people, I think, not being willing to take a risk. Risk is part of it.
Yes.
Calculated risk can, you have to take some sort of a leap. And people are scared. They're fearful of them back. And then I'd also say not showing up and treating it like a job. What is your commitment to what we said you're going to do? How many hours a week or how many hours a week you're going to spend toward this being
your main thing?
You need to do, you have to put effort in, right?
I think there's a misalignment with what it takes to actually obtain like the goal, right? When I went to the conference last week and I see people doing 700,000-800,000 deals, do I want to make that commitment to do that level of work to manage that many employees to get those results? If it's anybody, if you're doing 10 deals or 5 deals or 1 deal, right? What was your training really to want to make that switch? Like where people, are they coming from a state job where they've maybe been working 50% of the time at home, like the past few years, and then they get into like, I want to flip a house, that looks fun. And then it's like, oh crap, I got to call people. Oh, wait a minute. 20 of them just said no. I got to call another couple hundred. Like the level of work that's actually involved that you need to accomplish to get to that next level. Afton started her real estate career in 2010 when was arguably one of the worst times to start. She did 30 open houses in 30 days. Like that type of level of commitment. Like I was doing the open houses, the door knocking when I started, hungover or not, like you still got to make a commitment and get out there and do the work. And I do 1,000% see how that can be more challenging in different seasons of life. Having kids and rewinding it all, it would have to be like a different path. So that can be more complicated, but really like making it that 8 to 5 or whatever it is that you have, and usually it's got to be more than that.
You said 8 to 5. You even added an hour.
Well, you got to put that time into it to really make the calls, make the connections, have it systematic. Like Keller Williams, I started at Liberty Mutual. It had great training. Keller Williams had sales training, took classes, like understood, was challenged to make X amount of contacts a day. Like who's holding you accountable for some of these things? And a community and a coach and an understanding of like, oh, Jake's doing this, I got to do this. Right? Like you ride with your brothers and you want to excel.
And I think too, it's, everything that you say yes to,
You say no to something.
You are saying no to something else.
Yeah, that's so true.
What are you willing to give up? There is no growth without sacrifice.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, don't have the mindset of, no matter what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give up my Saturday or a birthday party or, hanging out late, getting wild because I'm going to get up in the morning on a Saturday, or I'm going to get up and go do this because I choose to, not because I have to, because I choose to and I want to better my life and reach my goals.
It's a lifestyle switch.
Financially too, it's like I'm not grabbing the Starbucks or eating out or doing the shopping, right? I want to put some of that disposable income into like investing, and that's a challenge as well. So there's like a number of components to it that you have to have the mindset shift
Yeah.
And I think
to move the needle.
also with us getting in at a younger age, maybe, I don't know if it made it easier or not, because when you're younger, you want to be a little more free and whatever. But for me, like, that was my sacrifice. I sacrificed young before I had kids, before, you know, I had a family. And now that, and I feel, and that was always my motto, was like, I'm going to work my butt off now so that when I have a family, I don't have to work as hard, because I'm going to have all the things in place. And so I think that, you know, that's been my greatest gift, I think, was the mindset of doing it at a younger age. And I missed a lot. I mean,
It's a sacrifice.
it was a sacrifice, and the things that I missed, I think that I don't have any regrets.
You know, you two have come a long way, and why can I say that? Because we're of the same age and we're peers, and I know so many of my peers that don't. I would prefer to be in this union than probably some of the other unions I see are available out there, right? To be able to lock arms with husband, wife, somebody that thinks similar but at the same time thinks different. Well, but in addition, willing to achieve and chase the same goals under any circumstances. And again, I've obviously been able to spend a little bit more time with Bobby, and one of the things I've always felt near and dear about is this: you can see a lot about a person in how they represent their partner in their absence, but then you can tell a lot about a person on how their partner treats you or communicates with you. So let me keep it simple. Every meetup, Bobby has something to say about you. My wife, my wife, my wife, my wife, my wife, my wife. And in his position, even like in real estate community, it's sometimes you can be put in a space where you're the guy or the gal, right? And you don't even put yourself there. People will put you there. And he's a low-key guy, right? So how he navigates that type of attention is kind of interesting because he's really low-key. And you know what he does to me? I'm going to tell you something. This is what he does to me. Every time I go to his meetup, right, he hops on the mic and says, "Hey, you guys, you see Jake back there? Yeah, that's Jacob Davenport. Go to his social media. Hit him up." I'm like, man, I'm trying to stay low-key. But I love
trying to get you some more followers.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love it because you have to have grace, and that's and I welcome it, because the grace that he always puts out there is that he never makes it the Bobby show, right? He always look for how he can add more value, but he definitely by far is your biggest fan, and in meeting you and connecting with you, I can just see so much further about Bobby and why he treats the people and is encouraged to treat people the way he is. One, he's naturally like that. But as we grow, we can get cynical, we can get frustrated, we can get all these things. But to stay grounded, you can't stay grounded by yourself. You need somebody to say, "Hey, Jake, you're doing a good job. Hey, Bobby, slow down. Hey, look, keep your head up." And so it's just a beautiful thing. And I want to tell you both that I'm learning from you. But also, we're going to dive into Q&A. But I want to tell you thank you too, and I'm glad we got on the podcast after, and I learned a lot about you, which allowed me to learn further about Bobby, and I get why he is where he is even mentally and emotionally at right now in peace, because he has somebody to keep him anchored in all the madness of investing and wholesaling. So
I didn't pay him for that, and he did a great job on throwing some love, and honestly, like when I was younger, I was immature and I didn't have my stuff together, and I knew that seeking like a partner and a spouse, like so many things attracted me to her, but ultimately it was like needing just like a partnership in many different ways. And Afton's like amazing supporter and amazing mom. an amazing wife. Like we were intentional about hanging out, doing date nights, like keeping us alive. And with business, yeah, it can be important and huge in growth with success of having someone in your corner that's really supportive, one, and two, able to like talk you through like decisions and her mind with like operations and coaching and working with employees.
A different style.
100%. Yeah. And it has like, I go fast and I've made a lot of quick moves and I'll buy the house and I'll do the things. And then like there's pieces left behind and she's been able to help kind of like strategically like, hey, here, what if we look at it this way or that way? So it has been like an amazing marriage value add and 100% like the growth that that I've had, that we've had is you know, thanks to us and you for sure. And now it's like the kids and taking care of them and making sure we could still progress and grow.
That's success. That's success where you guys are and where you continue to go. That's really how I define. You take the money off the table.
Yeah.
Right, the growth. Did you have some word for Bobby? All right. We're gonna, there we go. We're gonna do a quick adjustment, get ready for some Q&A. Please. So we're back. This is a great opportunity to do some Q&A.
If I go to the meetups or the events and I meet money lenders, right? What a good question to ask, or how present yourself? What's the right thing to ask?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first thing I want to know is how much they're going to charge and then what percentage down. So some companies will do 90% of purchase. So you have to bring in 10% down. That's an important number because some are 15, some are 20, and some are 25. I had a good buddy buy a house and he had to put like 30% down for his first flip. I'm like, what are you doing? You don't want to ask me for a referral? Like, so the down payment's huge. The points are important, right? Like industry average, maybe you want to be around 2 points. Like at times you can get below that, maybe to 1. It probably depends on experience, but that's like your cost to purchase the property. And that, 2 points would be, if you buy in a $300,000 house, it'd be $6,000 for the commission to that hard money lender. And then do they have junk fees? Is there an appraisal? Is there underwriting costs? Is there a processing fee? Right? Sometimes they'll hold some of that information out so maybe you get in contract. The appraisal is something maybe Jake can speak of too. Like we're not the biggest fans of. One, it's like another reason you got to run out there and take a look at it and get it open. And then additionally, maybe they're going to determine the value different. How do they determine the value? They could say it's you only got to put 10% down, but maybe that appraisal comes in and then they readjusted their numbers and then you got to put 20% down. And that just killed your deal, but you're in contract and you might have released a contingency. So there's some pieces along that line that you have to understand. Next would be, your loan to value, right? So there's an equation with that 90% of 10% down. And then when they went out and did an appraisal and realized maybe it's worth less and why you had to come in with 20%. Well, the reason is most likely how they calculate it, and this is probably harder to just say versus like visually seen, but you have to have your purchase price plus your rehab amount, that number divided by what it's going to be worth when it's fixed up. And usually that has to be about 70 or 75%. So they can kind of explain that in more detail, but those are all good things to understand and questions to ask your hard money lender. Turn times, right? Like how long is it? Can you close in 10 days, right? There are situations where you need to, maybe your 10-day offer is going to beat out your 17-day offer. What is their underwriting process? Some want W-2, some want just bank statements. Is there a credit check? What do they want that credit to be? Some have no bankruptcies, no foreclosures, right? So those are a number of things to understand how their underwriting process is.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You sent another question in. Do you want to ask that one as well, Natalia?
Sure. Okay. Now, another question I had is, what real estate investing technology do you recommend, or what technology works for you guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you mean like CRM or how you? What was that?
Like, yeah, in general.
In general, we have a number of things that we utilize, but our CRM we use is called Resimply, and you can do some skip tracing in there, which is where you find a house and you pull the data to figure out name, number, email, something like that. You could do that in there. It has your clients in there, and you can have a calendar, and you set follow-ups. You can send emails, you can send drips, you can send text messages in there. There's another one called a Deal Machine. That's pretty good. It's an app for driving for dollars. If you're going around the neighborhood and you're seeing that house with the tarp on it and you take a picture of it, you can pull the tax records up right there. You can mail them instantly right there. I think it's like $90 a month. You could skip trace it, then you could text, email, call right away. We're starting to leverage AI and get an understanding what that looks like. We have thousands of leads in our database, and it's like, let's put them on some different drip sequences where, one, if it's automated, two, if it can actually respond. And then additionally, like if the leads come in on off hours, maybe you have some AI kind of tee up the leads and kind of warm them up so you could call them in the next morning, because people are clicking around. You pay a lot of money for those leads, and they're just clicking 5 different leads until they hear from somebody. So you want to make sure you get in front of them quickly. So there's a ton of stuff. Additionally, Jake, you got anything, or Afton, or tech stuff?
There's an app that I learned about in one of my conferences called Backflip. And it's, depending on what area you're in, it may or may not be in the area yet, but you type in an address in this app. It's an app called Backflip. There's a free version and then there's a paid version. You type in the address and it's going to give you the estimated ARV, because it's going to pull up the details of the property, like what you can sell it for, and then it's going to give you like a rough workup of your construction costs in it. So it's not going to be completely accurate because they won't know the condition of the property or whatever, but it was new technology about a year ago, and I know it wasn't in Sacramento yet, where we are from, so could be a cool system to try.
Yeah, and then ChatGPT is like a well-known one to an extent for most people. And I think people don't think about how resourceful it can be. Like if you're writing a job description, like we're bringing someone on, like you could put a full job description. You could put an offer letter together, account manager offer letter, admin like job description, and then like tweak it with what you got. Cash for keys, right? You're negotiating with a tenant. You get a full contract written for that. Promissory notes, scope of works. Like that's something like having the app and just speaking into it and going through your project and like getting like your whole scope of work down. Scripts, right? Like best practices for calling people and handling objections, and how to target probate properties, right? It's amazing the information that's available on ChatGPT with how you like cater. Obviously, like writing listing descriptions and blogs and all that stuff is some of the more known stuff, but utilizing it for scope of works and some of these other things is something newer that we've kind of started to utilize.
Reed, I'll add just for perspective. To be able to arrive where the two of these have arrived, none of it was done without a lot of hard work. And so I bring that up because I do understand with connecting with so many different people that sometimes perspective can only take place when you get there, after you've failed and you've overcome. And so where they're at with even software and admin and growing, it could be defined as a level of sophistication by way of growth. And so that you all can get to where they're at, but be willing to commit the level of hard work and sacrifice it takes to get there. And with that said, it really starts with committing yourself to not just a real estate community, but the real estate community. Anything and everything involving real estate that will further educate you, further put you in front of individuals that can add value. You can add value to them. And that becomes a lifestyle that every single day your life is about real estate. I only think about real estate, and then I think about some random stuff like food every once in a while, right?
Gotta fit it in
Yeah.
after.
It doesn't go like today. I'm thinking about analyzing a deal to tomorrow. Hey, I need to hire some admin. There's this whole journey that goes in between that. And so be willing to take your journey on head on until you arrive here if you put in the work. Not so much, hey, I need to do exactly what Afton and Bobby are doing, because what they're doing represents where they're at in their journey. But definitely they put up a lot of work.
Yeah, that's really good perspective, and like bring it back a little bit. And honestly, like Google spreadsheets, like I have way too many Google spreadsheets, and like even for maybe a sophisticated business or whatever you could call it, like it's free and it's simple, and you can put your leads in there, and you can have your to-do list, and you can have your objectives and whatever it is. Like it's free.
Starting out little to $0.
Yeah.
Start there
Yeah.
and then add it.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. And
I will say like batch leads and prop stream, maybe the other one, like you could pull like 10,000 records and do what's called stacking, like stack the lists. And $99 a month, you can pull 10,000 records, and then you could put together whether it's probate and water shut off and non-owner occupied, right? And find like a very condensed version of that list, and then target, 100 people, right? Versus hitting the 10,000. So that's another like entry level Google Sheets and batch leads or prop stream to get some data. I think those would be like the first two.
What are some key questions that you guys think would be kind of like good openers to get to know someone and see how I could bring value to them? Or do I need to do some type of like background work on myself and knowledge to having value to bring to them? Because that's kind of what I'm thinking I need to have, which I agree with, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and again, something to like give thought to before like entering those conversations, where I think touched on a little bit earlier, but like how can I add value, right? Like what are important things, like if I'm newer and getting rolling and I want to try to have a sliver of a role to kind of add value to, like what can I do? Like someone like approaching Jake like that. I think also maybe asking like what it was like starting out sometimes, right? Because obviously like that kind of brings us back to the moment of like, okay, I'm in your shoes now, versus like just asking like, what should I do? And it's like, there's a number of different ways that can go, right? Versus like, okay, yeah, like 7-8 years ago, like these are the steps, the 1, 2, 3 steps that I think I started doing. And then, just absorbing all the information and learning. I think those two things would be my kind of feedback.
Good, really good.
Yeah, I'd say when you first start, what did you do when you first got started? Like learn their first steps. And then the second piece would be, what do you need help with in your business right now?
Good question.
I just want to learn from you.
That's really good, Afton.
Because as Jake said a second ago, like my business today is a lot more challenging for some people to like put in their shoes. Because if I just say, hey, I'm spending X amount of dollars on marketing and I got my acquisition guy, my lead manager, all that, it's like that's not relevant at all, right? For like someone just starting out. But like breaking it down to another level is where it needs to go and resonate with.
Would it be appropriate to ask a numerical number of how much you spend on marketing combined?
Yeah, sure.
A month? Yeah. Afton?
For our real estate side?
Collectively.
Collectively? I don't even know what he spends now.
Yeah.
The flip side.
Yeah. So just marketing, like advertising, and that's like to try to get deals, $50,000.
15 or 50?
50.
$50,000 a month.
$50,000 a month.
That's $50,000 a month.
Yeah. And then you still have, you talk about all the tech stuff, like Dispo stuff or MailChimp and CRMs.
What does
and
Dispo mean?
Dispo means like, good question, how you wholesale it, right? So just like text services, like you're sending text messages, you're sending emails, your website, your branding stuff.
Selling the property once you've acquired it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. So yeah, just another like tier. Our total budget without human capital is probably 60 to $63,000.
About $63,000 a month.
Yeah.
And are you just asking for marketing budget or just full on business expenses?
Well, that's yeah.
Let's stick with marketing. Keep
I
it simple.
think on the real estate side, we're spending maybe $1,200 a month on marketing specifically, and we're very heavy and focused with our database.
Mm-hmm.
Our database
Yeah.
is basically the sphere of influence and people who like and trust us.
Yeah. So before you guys earn $1 in a month, $65,000 goes out the door.
It does now. It does not do
More than that because you got salaries, so there's still
Yeah.
another 5, 10, 15. Call it 80. Yeah.
Is that $750,000 a year?
I mean, 80 times 12 is what, 920 or something like that. It's 920 grand. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's $1 million that goes out. So that,
But it's a much
and
different
there's a
level
story
business.
that's told within it. But I go back to two things that before you have a seat at the table, right? Or if you don't have a seat at the table, find a way to serve it. And none of this has to do with the money that you're spending, but the sacrifice and the chapter that you guys have grown into wasn't done overnight. And so I just find that the best way to grow a relationship with somebody that has been through so much and can walk me and save me so many steps, right? It would be so affordable for me to just bring a whole lot of value on the front end instead of me having to spend $900,000 in a year and blowing half it, losing it, business tanking, over being litigated.
So if somebody approached you and said, what do you need help with? Get on the phones, right? Like, what would you tell somebody if somebody approached you, Bobby, and said, what do you need help with? I just want to learn.
It's like, what do I need help with? Finding buyers, right? It's like I'm always looking for buyers. I'm looking for deals, right? Like I'm always looking to partner with people, and same thing everyone else is looking for, really.
Yeah.
Right? But maybe the buyers thing's another thing people don't think about because at the beginning you're always looking for the deal, right? Now it's like we actually have a lot of deals. I'm trying to find a buyer, right? And sometimes it's a cash buyer. It's not necessarily the buyer, or someone that's willing to take on more risks on a heavier project or something like that. We're growing, so we're always kind of looking for talent per se, but those are the two things for sure.
Somebody wanted to intern with you. What would you have them do?
So we had an intern in July that hung out for a couple of weeks, and he went on some vacations, and it didn't quite work out. But it was good for a couple of weeks where he was doing dispo stuff, right? And dispo stuff, again, like finding buyers, sending them some deals, getting an idea what their buy box is, their criteria, some of these questions that maybe if you're an investor, people are reaching out to you and asking. That's kind of one of the main things. And then probably helping at the meetups, right? Mm-hmm. Like coming out and helping facilitate them or connect with them, be a brand ambassador to an extent. Making calls, right? We buy a lot of data. We get 50,000 records or something like that a month. And, there's a lot of things that you could do to get in front of them that we're not doing, right? So there's other avenues that you could get in front of them. So
you can kind of leverage your time and bite your cheese in the dirt.
And that's why, I was talking with Trey and Jake, like we're getting a bigger office space, like 1,800 square feet. So we could bring some more people in because we do get approached a lot. Like maybe how can I help, or, how can I learn, or can I intern or something like that? And we haven't had the physical space to really do that. So looking forward to having a more brick and mortar spot. We currently are under an umbrella of Keller Williams where we have 3 offices, and it's a little congested to an extent there. So now having some more space will bring some more people in, and who knows where. I've been very timid. You hear my marketing budget, but I'm still scared to take this office space on. And Afton's like, if you build it, it will grow, like some Field of Dreams stuff. So, it's 100% there.
Tell them, Afton. Tell them, Afton.
It seems unnecessary to an extent. Like, why do we need all that space? But then it's like, okay, this is, planning for the future for what that next move might be.
Right.
I'm going to keep us moving with the questions here. Jason, you got one more question, and then we're going to finish it off with Michael with the last question. So let's try to keep this in 3 minutes here.
Sounds good. So to shorten my question, when it comes to underwriting, how do you bring up the possibility of learning from, let's say from Jake and I'm gonna buy a mixer. For example, how do you bring up learning from them on a deal they've already done or are doing, or is that just something that I have to learn on my own? Just YouTube examples, or what do you think when it comes to trying to get better at underwriting?
I thought he was asking you.
How can they ask you guys how to learn how to underwrite one of your deals? Because they want to use a real example to underwrite. Is that a good question to ask?
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Or that not to focus on social, you know?
Yeah, we've done some like deal reviews when you're kind of analyzing how you bought the property. And I mentioned earlier, like looking for that more cookie cutter thing. The more successful deals is that we've had them for 6 or 8 weeks, and then maybe they're on the market 2 or 3 weeks, and then this is what we ended up spending and going through that analysis. The upfront underwriting is, again, it's gonna be it's challenging for me to give you like a formula because my numbers are going to be different, right? My money's probably cheaper and my contractors are a little cheaper. But I think there's generic ways to like analyze a property that's going to give you a good ballpark. And then as far as like the deal review, that's something that could look into. I'm sure Jake could do a good job of kind of breaking those down.
One of the things I recommend is on our live session we were looking at one of your deals the other day, and when working with wholesalers, typically they will break down the math of what they think, what they'll sell it for, right? And then what they think the math on the ARV is. And a lot of times just watching that type of data through a variety of wholesalers is a very simple template for somebody that doesn't know how to analyze deals. And taking that data and trying to break it down. So you don't know the construction cost, but a lot of times somebody will make a suggestion, right? And looking at it from that standpoint. But ultimately, I think at the end of the day, you just have to start underwriting. Even if you have to go on YouTube University. Did you have something, Afton?
Yeah, I think just like analyzing deals consistently and maybe like checking your numbers. Like, what do you think about this? Because I can literally underwrite a deal in like 2 minutes and maybe even less. And knowing how to comp, talking to an agent, getting comps.
Yeah, knowing what a house is actually going to be worth when you're done with it. But typically, as a general rule of thumb, like when we're talking about stuff, because I'm on the sales side of things, but not on the investment. Like, what do we need to get the deal for? But you're always like, we need at least 100,000 minimum. 100,000.
150.
150. We need at least like 150. So if the value is gonna be 500,000 when it's all said and done, we need to acquire it at like 350 for a general maybe remodel plus your acquisition costs and your hard money payments for months until it's sold and your commissions and everything else. So that's like a general rule of thumb that we've discussed when I'm saying, hey, here's an ugly house.
Yeah.
What do you want me to write an offer on it for? So that's what I
think, just a generic deal, to wrap it up, a generic deal calculator, and then understanding, like, talk to 3 contractors. What's a roof? What's an HVAC? What are windows? Right? Then you have, like, a ballpark range, and then filling in the middle stuff, paint and floors, dollar per square foot, things like that. And having that in a spreadsheet so you can
reference it,
yeah.
One more question?
We're going to do one last question from Michael. You have your hand raised. Let's end it off strong, Michael. Don't ghost me now.
No, I'm here. I actually had 2 questions, but let me see which one I like better. Okay, this one is, as a new realtor with my ultimate goal is to become a flipper, what would you recommend joining a brokerage that specializes more with investing or stick with the transitional side of the brokerage and just build my capital up that way? Or should I go more towards educating myself with the more brokerage that is more geared towards investing and flipping?
So that's a good question and kind of like a tricky one because I can give value to like both sides. So I started with a broker who flipped houses. He had rentals and he did real estate. And I was able to learn all 3 right off the bat. So I was able to see that. But that was my exposure to it, right? You're already exposed to it a little bit, so you understand what your goal is. I didn't even know I wanted to do that. I just wanted to sell some houses. So I guess I was blessed like walking into it. You have the mentality that that's what you want to do. So I got more value later when I joined a big brokerage. I joined Keller Williams, and I was around 150 agents, maybe more. There's like 200 now. But then you're around them and you know what you want to do. You go to Jake's stuff, you go to my stuff, you understand, you learn from us, but then you're around a network, right? You're around 150 agents, 100 agents. You go to the events, you go to the barbecues, you go to the office meetings, and then you're like, hey, I do this, but I also buy properties, right? I want to be a resource for you. So then you just built your network up. There's likely someone else in there that's flipping that you can learn from. So two sides to it. I think both can be very valuable, but that was how I grew.
I'll touch on that. I mean, yes, Bobby we have different perspective. I'm more of the, drink the Kool-Aid, Keller Kool-Aid. I've been with them for 15 years. That's the only brokerage I've been with. The reason I've never needed to move is because I've never outgrown it. And I'm a huge proponent of education, like educating yourself. And Keller is they're a technology company now, yet they were an education company, and pioneered the entire real estate industry for the education for their agents, teaching agents how to run a business and build a business, versus most brokerages teach you how to do a deal, because when you do a deal, then they get paid. Keller's teaching you all the behind the scenes things so that you can actually have a true business, because the purpose of the business is to fund your life for what you really want to do. So if flipping is what you really want to do, learn how to make the money. And not only you're going to learn how to comp properties, you're going to have access to everything. You're going to learn how to build that database and that consistency so that you have, and then like Bobby said, you're going to be rubbing shoulders with all these other people that have bigger businesses than you. So you're just instantly going to level up that way. And then there's going to be somebody else that's probably flipping in that office that you can learn from. All the agents there, if they know you want to flip and do, you instantly have your database, your network of people who know people with distressed property. So and then you're going to go to these network meetup mixers as well. So I'm a larger, like my philosophy, my own 2 cents is be with a bigger brokerage that's going to help you and teach you how to run a business, because that's what you're ultimately going to do, whether it's flipping or real estate.
And I think some people get short-sighted, like, oh, Keller Williams, like they're more expensive, right? And they can be, but then what can you learn from them? What other opportunities are there? Like was exposed to Open Door, for example. I was one of the boots on ground Open Door agents because of some relationships that I met at Keller Williams in Arizona at an event. And I was like getting all the referrals from Open Door. I never would have had that opportunity if I wasn't with Keller Williams. So there's doors that can open, or just being in the office and talking to other agents like, hey, I buy houses, buy flips homes. And then I started dropping off flyers in everybody's mailbox. And then I just started having conversations and sponsoring like our office meetings, right? So it just like, yes, I pay more money to be at that brokerage, but I've had more opportunities, paying a little more, being at a big office. So sometimes it's like you want to save a couple bucks, but is it worth it in the long run?
So have you ever paid less for something and figured out later on that you got what you paid for? It's in direct correlation all the time. So very much a proponent for that. And, I just feel like educating yourself, pouring into yourself is the best thing you could ever do. So finding a conglomerate wherever that is, where you're going to get that knowledge that you need. And I feel like the return is exponential. So, you're paying a little bit more up front for, tenfold return.
Go for the value, not the price. Remain value oriented in relationship, remain value oriented in purchase and valuations of all things that you want to get involved with. When you start chasing the price, it's not a long road.
What's a common mistake rookie flippers make, and how can they be avoided?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it goes back to like underwriting the deal, comping, like buying stuff in a bad area, not understanding the values, not having maybe the reserves for the hard money payments, not having your contractors ducks in a row. I think, again, it's like just being prepared, underwriting deals, talking to a couple of different realtors, like getting a deal from a realtor or wholesaler, right? Obviously, they're going to have a value that maybe is a little higher. And versus like getting some other perspectives there. So definitely just doing your homework on the front end.
And that is a wrap for another episode of Growing in Real Estate. I want to thank our guest, Bobby and Afton, for coming out today. You guys have a meetup tonight, and it's a monthly meetup. Remind me again. Give me a little bit more about your meetup.
Yeah, so I meet Capital Wealth Builders. Usually it's at Crawdads on the river, so beautiful location. You got the sunset going down like right as we kick off. They got good food. But anyways, we have speakers. Jake's coming tonight, dropping some knowledge. We're going to be reversing the roles here a little bit, so that'll be fun.